Hey, welcome to the episode. In today's episode, I sat down with Jacob Carroll. Jacob tells about his story coming into the business at age 21, opening his agency after that, after being in the business a year or so. And he's been an agency owner now for over 13 years. He's been a Jenesis customer for the entire time. And this is such a great episode. He takes us through what he learned about moving from being an agent to being an agency owner. And it's just really fascinating. And then he talks about things like mentors and reading being two things that really contributed to his development. So I think you're going to love the episode. I think you'll like his humility, his transparency, and his kindness. And I think this will be time well spent. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Jenesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Jenesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Jenesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo. All right, I want to welcome Jacob to today's podcast. Jacob, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have we ever met?
That's a great question. I believe so. I'm not sure if in person. I've definitely run into you. I believe we've run into each other at a convention before in the past. And so,
okay. Yeah, I was trying to think about that, and I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah. I believe we had. I mean, it's been many, many years since that's happened, but yeah, I've only heard good things. So,
well, same about you. Let's do this. Our objective today, other than I'm always just really curious, and I've enjoyed this far more than I thought I would, from the standpoint of just chatting, getting to know things about you, what you've done, what you're doing now, what you plan to do. And part of this is positioned so that people watching hopefully can pick up ideas, how to be a better business owner, how to be a better insurance agent, how, all the different pieces, be a work-life balance, whatever it may be.
Sure.
So we'll try to talk about things that maybe people will enjoy and learn from. But let's do this. Let's start by you telling us how you got into this business. About when did that happen, and what'd that look like?
It's funny. It's a great story. I was working in the car business. I was selling cars, and part of the I would say the original bread and butter of Superior Insurance was partnering with or working with car lots. And so I met a mutual friend of ours, Matthew Nakovich, and he said, I need a car guy to come work for me. And so I said, all right, well, tell me more about it. And he told me what an agent makes. And I think I was 20 or 21 at the time, selling cars, and then he offered me a certain salary, and it was like half of what I was making selling cars. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. And so I kept going. And, and if you've ever been in the car business at all in any facet, it is an all consuming thing. And it is, it's 9 a.m. the hours are 9 to 8, but you're there before, you're there after, things like that. And so I'd say 18 months later, I gave him a call on the phone and I said, hey, is there any chance that job's still open? And he laughed and he said, yeah, let's talk. And so he and I had an interview, and I joined his team. And I would say that was probably in 2011, I think, maybe 2012, somewhere around then. And so I've been an agency owner for over 13 years, and I worked for him for about 2 years before that. And so kind of brought me in, and kind of showed me the tricks of the trade, taught me some things, and said, if you really want to get after it, this is what you need to do. And kind of set me free, sent me on my way. And it's been a really awesome journey ever since then.
Okay. So you knew the agency owner through your relationship because you were selling cars. I haven't seen Matt in years either, by the way. He texts me when there's a problem, every now and then he'll text me, which luckily, so that means I get maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll get a text from him. So you met Matt, who was an agency owner, through your relationship because you were selling cars. He was, you were kind of sending him customers. You went to work in his agency you got your license and worked for him for a couple of years with the purpose then of going out on your own.
Yeah,
was
that's
that
correct.
The intention the whole time?
Yeah, I believe so. I worked for him probably, I would say, at least the first year, just trying to be the best agent I could be. And I think he saw something in me, pulled me into his office, and kind of said, "Hey, I think you might have what it takes." And it was great. And so we kind of worked out some things. We talked about, the difference between being an agent and being an agency owner. And as much as I appreciated that pep talk, I don't know if words do the justice and the difference there, because there's a huge difference between being a producer and being an agency owner. And it's definitely still to this day some eye-opening things of like, yep, lots of people, I have the name, I have my name on the front of the door, under the branding agent owner, Jacob Carroll, and people come in and, oh, that's pretty great. And it's very wonderful. Don't take that for granted at all, but it comes with a lot, and as you know, and others that might be listening would know, some days you're like, what have I done? But I would say the majority of the time it's an honor. And it's a proud moment for our family to be able to have this position and do this for a living, for sure.
Right. I get that. I don't think anyone is prepared to be a business owner, any kind of business owner, pie shop, whatever. I don't think they're prepared when they start the business. I don't even care if they've been to college and got this degree in this or that. To go out and be the business owner, you're not prepared. I think the trick and what can lead to sustainability and long-term success is being willing to learn, being humble enough and being brave enough to make mistakes, humble enough to admit them and learn from them and seek counsel from other people. Do you agree with all that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think humility is a huge part of this. And as well as, I think we have a mutual friend, something I had heard very early on from Todd Johnson. I met him through some of the Superior guys and at a Big I event. And he told me something his dad told him years and years ago. And I was probably 3 or 4 years of owning the agency. And I would have, we all have some prejudice or we've grown up in certain things and we're mainly non-standard. And so that brings its own joy with it. And, he said, my dad told me a long time ago, it's all green when it hits the till. And that's probably been one of the things that's really changed, my heart of, all right, we have insurance. And I know every agency has its own client that they would like. And having that niche is very important. But it meant a lot for me as a young agent, trying to figure out as I'm carving that out, what kind of business do I want to go after, and remembering. And I think that's probably been my favorite part of being a non-standard agent is I get to meet some of the best people in the state of North Carolina. And sometimes tough things happen to folks, right? And they need a place to go. And so being able to have an office where they can come by and see them, the people I've got to know, the stories I've got to hear, and the situations we walk through with folks, it's just been a really beautiful thing to get to know people. And hearing that from him, that was really great. Kind of spurred me forward of like, hey, yes, we're in the business, to obviously provide and make money, but we also we take care of people. We look after their best interests. We want to make sure we're insuring them to the best of our ability, educating them as customers and clients as much as they would let us do that. And so providing a service for them and looking out for their best interest at hand. And, it's been a really good but also constantly learning, who's doing it. If we've got a $2 million book of business and I want to get around a $5 million book of business, what are these guys reading? What are they doing? How early are they going in? How late are they staying? Picking up that stuff that on my own, I'd never understand that.
Yeah. I used to say, because I started my own agency after being with Farm Bureau in the late 80s. You weren't even born probably. And then
depends on the year, but okay. I hung in there.
I left Farm Bureau and started my agency in 91, and then mid 90s created Jenesis, and then late 90s kind of accidentally sold Jenesis to an agency, our first customer. And then over that next year or 2 years, sold one system a month or something like that. But what I started noticing, Jacob, once I developed 5 relationships with agencies outside of my own 4 walls, and then 10 agencies outside of my own 4 walls, and then now it's over 1,000 agencies. But even 5 or 10, I remember saying to people, this is when I really started growing, is when I started associating with other agency owners. And I think people need to figure that out. Now, you're part of a group of 25 or 30 agency locations, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
How helpful has that been for you then, starting out, and now?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think we know as if you're in at least the North Carolina, all I know is North Carolina insurance as far as how that goes. And so I know it is a very relational place. I know appointments can be pretty hard. If you're going to start out as a scratch agent, what can you do? The more appointments you have, the better. And so being a part of the Superior Group was super helpful in that position, as well as some of the owners over the years have been on boards with the DOI, and we've had our annual meetings and things like that. And so lots of knowledge there, lots of relationships there. And it is one of my favorite things that I didn't know because I was new into insurance is reps would move from company to company. And if you had a good relationship with your rep, they'd come by and visit. Hey, I'm Eddie with this. And oh yeah, sure. Come on, get you the paperwork. And you might not have the production numbers that are needed right off the bat, but they're like, hey, we like them, we trust them, we build a relationship with them, and you gain those appointments and you work to keep them and continue have good relationships with those companies. But it is really the people game, and learning that and having good people in your corner makes a huge difference.
Yeah, sure does. If you were to, because I want to think about your agency for a second, what it looks like today. And I want to start by thinking about what it looks like to your customers. So do you have an elevator pitch? What is your 30-second spiel if you're telling me about your agency?
Sure. That's really good. I think I would say it's obviously evolved over the years. In the last few years, as much as I love to sell, as much as I love to sell and serve and take care of folks, I've kind of shifted from sales to salesmanship to maybe an advisor of, hey, this is what I see, but I really want to empower you to make the choice yourself. And so I own a home, I own a golf cart, I own this. I would highly recommend an umbrella. Well, you go back and forth. It's like, I'm going to give that decision to you. I would like you to do that. Well, of course you would like me to do that because the more, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not in, that's not kind of what motivates me anymore as much as it is making sure that client is covered. And so I think the 30-second pitch would say, hey, we're local here in the community. You've got warm bodies in the office. You've got the same people when you call, you're going to get each time. We're going to be there for you. We live in the same community as you do. We spend money in the same community like you do, and we worship in the same community as you do. You get to maybe even meet my kids because sometimes my wife will bring them by the office and things like that. And so we're here. We're here to provide a service and take care of you. We are local, and I don't try to do much pressure because selling insurance, that's something most people have to have. So it's, hey, let me take a look at it. Worst case, I'm going to tell you is you're getting a pretty good deal and you should stay where you're at. And best case is I can earn your business and be your agent moving forward. And so that's kind of what I do.
I like it. You said earlier, if you were a 2 million agency and wanted to be a 5 million agency, what are the people who are a 5 million agency? What are they doing? What are they reading? That kind of thing, which I love that. I love the old quote, success leaves clues. Look to someone who's got what you want and then figure out what are their habits. Anything like, is reading a big deal for you? Like you said something about reading a minute ago, but is that something you spend some time doing?
Yeah. I try to read. I mean, I also think reading would be like going to the gym for your body. I think reading is like that for your mind. And so I like to read even outside of business books, but lots of different books and different things like that. But there have been one lesson my dad taught me a long time ago that I try to remember. But he said, lots of people have made mistakes. You don't have to learn the hard way by repeating those same mistakes. And so same thing in business, same thing in insurance, depending on how specialized you want to get with the topics. There's lots of great business books or family books because we have young kids at home. We've got a 7, 5, and a 3-year-old at home. And so in the same way in my business, I would love to learn from those agencies. I'd try to spend time with people with teenagers because one day my kids are going to be teenagers. And so I enjoy reading those books, hopefully by people who have been there and done that and experienced some things. That way there might be some potholes in the road down the road, and I'm ready to look out for those and miss those.
Yeah. I have learned a ton over the years out of books. By the way, I'll do a selfish plug. Have you read this book?
I have not.
All right. If you don't have a copy, I'll send you a copy.
Okay. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. I'll send you a copy of that.
That's my latest. I have the other book.
Oh yeah. The first one. Okay,
yep.
Cool.
Yep. I've got that.
All right. I'll send you this one. The first one was everything insurance agents, everything about owning an insurance agency. Kind of broke it down in chapters by sales, marketing, support, all the different things, finance. And this one's just about marketing. So it's a little different in that regard,
sure.
About growth and branding and that sort of, I'll send that to you. The work-life balance, because you mentioned 3 kids at home, right? What does that look like now? Like when you started the agency, were you burning the midnight oil? Were you ever working way over 40 hours a week? And what does that look like now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And still to this day, work more than that. I think that's what it takes you've got to do, if you want different results than everyone else, you've got to do different things than everyone else is doing. Right. And so pre-kids, it was we were married I'm trying to think when we got married in 2015. And I had started the agency in 2012 or 2013, officially July of 2013. So as we were dating, engaged to get married, my wife was already kind of aware of the lifestyle that it was going to take. And so that was a blessing. We didn't have kids until it would be 2019. So it did give us some time to really grind it out. The long hours, early mornings, late nights, whatever it took, weekends to really get a good base and to get good growth and work on employees and things like that. And so I would say it's totally different 13 years later. I would say totally different. It's still long hours. It's not as long. And so, but that's also been from learning. It's also been implementing some different systems and structures that I'm not continuing to circle the wagons on the things I used to way back when. And so, I think the help of technology has been just unbelievably important. I am excited, a little treacherous, but very excited for what AI is going to do, what kind of land that's going to lead us into. And so, very, very happy for what's coming.
Yeah, I get that. I saw a quote the other day that said, technology has never in our history moved as fast as it is moving right now, but it will never in our future move this slow again. It's kind of interesting, right? I butchered that a little bit, but you get the point. Yeah. Talking about work ethic, I think you're right. So you said another quote that's been out there a while is, if you're wanting something different than what you have now, you have to do something different than you're doing now. And also, if you want to be more successful, and that can mean different things to different people, but if you want to be more successful than these people over here, you've got to do something different than they're doing and something different than they're willing to do. Lisa and I went to see recently the new Michael movie. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. How was that?
It was great.
Good.
And we've seen the Broadway play MJ. And for those who don't know, this is Michael Jackson movie. We saw the MJ Broadway play a couple of years ago, and it was phenomenal. But one of the things I came away from that movie being reminded of, I knew this, anybody would know this. This is not just a guy with talent that took him to where he ended up being. No doubt he had talent. He was gifted probably like no other, but his work ethic was also unparalleled. And the same stories you hear about, like even Michael Jordan, maybe you need to be named Michael or something. But I think these people, I think the reality of it is they say don't work harder, work smarter. I don't know, maybe. But,
right.
But you got to work hard. I just think you have to work hard.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, and I also heard a quote years ago from Steve Jobs that said, it was an interview that he was doing, and they were saying, what does it take to be successful? And he said, well, I think we've all heard that you have to be passionate about the thing you're doing. And he said, I think that's true for this one reason. To be successful at anything, and success probably for most of us means doing more than most, accomplishing more than most. That'd be success. Otherwise, it's just kind of considered normal, I think. But in order to do that, it's going to be really hard, no matter what we're talking about, whether it's Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, or Jacob Carroll,
Right.
And if it's going to be that hard, you will not sustain if you don't have passion about it, if it's not enjoyable. So I think, do you find that you kind of you already said you've really connected and have such a good relationship with customers. You also have a team of people you work with. Do you find that you like the business, you like the companies you're dealing with, the people your team, the mechanics of the software that you're using and things like that? Is the whole thing enjoyable?
Yeah, I would say, I think on the good days, they're really good. I tend to think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could oversimplify this, but I think what we do as insurance agents, it's the people business. And so, I grew up with a family in sales. I was in sales. I think we still are in sales. But regardless if it's books or vacuums or cars or houses or insurance, there is a aspect of and I think that being in the people business is the part that brings burnout, because people can be a lot. Your greatest customers can be the best, and then your worst customers, they can be the worst, and so how do you balance that? How do you deal with that? I think a lot of perspective with this job comes from what I used to do. And so when I first moved to North Carolina, I worked as a youth pastor for a few years. That was like a very small part-time gig. It was awesome. The family that went to the church, they owned House of Rayford Farms, the chicken plant, and I worked there too. And so I would work at House of Rayford, and then I would work at the church. And on my hardest days here at the office, I go, I'm not at the chicken plant anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a mind shift for me to go, all right, I'm not at the car lot anymore. I'm not there are moments I look back and say, I could still be where I was, but I'm not. And so that eases the burden. It doesn't take it away, because sometimes this business just grinds your gears and makes you want to pull all your hair out. There are those moments, but Matt and I have had that conversation every few years. We'll talk to each other. We talk to each other very much regularly, but every few years, hey, you still liking it? How you doing? How's your head? How's your heart? Having those hard conversations of how's it going? Because sometimes, I would say, I think we're getting into a little bit of a softer market, but the last couple of years have been very hard, very difficult. Right. And that was probably the hardest in the time that I've been doing this. When the market hardened, that was tough. That was, and then being on the coast, it specializes us a little bit, because we're in the wind pool, we're down at the beach, and property insurance is just going up, and your customers are calling. You're trying to learn how to keep them, trying to learn how to keep their peace. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And you really learn what you're made of in those moments and in those conversations. And so now that the market seems to be softening a little bit, at least softer than it was or than it has been, it's brought a new joy back. It's brought like, all right, cool. Rates, I'm getting emails, rate decrease. And then if one company does it, the rest of them are right behind them, And so, but yeah, to me, it's the people business, and I'm a people guy. So I love people because I get to deal with people. And I think as your book grows, you can kind of select who you have and who you want to have and who are the clients that are going to make it better for me. What's the percentage of EFT? What's the percentage of cash pay? How do we work this out? So I'm not having to, continue to be, do I give my cell phone out? Do I not? And things like that. And so I just really enjoy it. I find it, even there are moments where we wonder, and my wife and I meet and we're going over numbers and we're going over projections. She's like, I think you can do this. I'm like, I think I can too. And sometimes you blow past those and sometimes you don't. And it's a roller coaster, but it's a good ride. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, we feel the same way. And, Lisa and I both are 60. So, and we have a large enough of a company that we could sell the company now or in the last few years, but we could certainly sell it now that we're 60 and we could retire and have plenty of money.
Sure.
But we don't want to do it.
Right.
And one day I will. And I don't think about it a whole lot other than just like what I'm telling you. People ask me or I'll talk about it like this. And I think I'll know when I know, or I'll know when Lisa tells me. That may be the way it works. And she probably will say she's done before I say I'm done. But we have such a good time. All 4 kids are out of the house and this is our purpose. And I'm pretty blessed. I mean, I'm sitting here having a fun conversation with you, and this is my job.
Right.
I'm not at the chicken plant anymore, or whatever it was you said.
That's right.
So when you started the agency, after you worked with Matt for a couple of years, and you found a location, you rented a spot, and you opened up, was it just you day one?
Yeah, that is correct.
How long was it just you?
Oh, I would say probably for the first year. And so really, really get it churning, get it rocking, and get it rolling. And then, I've had at least one person with me, and 1 to 2, but mostly one. So it's between my wife. That was such a fun conversation because I said, you need to get licensed. What do you mean I need to get licensed? She was a licensed school teacher. She was number 11 in her high school class, so very smart, very academic. And that test kicked her butt. And I said, well, don't feel bad. It kicked mine too. She's like, yeah. But the twisting her arm was, hey, if something happens to me, I pass away or something happens, I don't want to lose the agency. Right. And so from what we understood at that time, you being licensed is very important. And so that then turned to her. She stays at home with the kids now, but she also works with me sometimes. And so that's been really fun to work with her. She's mostly part-time here when needed and kind of admin and things like that. And then try to keep a licensed agent with us. And it's been pretty good. That's not been easy for us as far as, but we try to keep me and another person here, at least, if not a couple others as well.
But right now it's one other person?
Yeah, that is correct.
What's ideal? 2 more?
Well, yeah, it depends on what my work-life balance wants to look like, right? And so, I think that's I think if I could get 2 more, that would be a real sweet spot to lock in there.
And that's pretty hard too, right? I mean, finding and keeping and training the right team members.
Sure.
That's hard. I think it's probably the hardest thing. I think it's harder than getting a contract from a carrier. And I think it's harder than getting insureds, getting customers, getting policies to write. Yeah. I think building a good team is really hard.
Well, and keeping the culture that you want. And then, balancing schedules and balancing everything like that. And then I would say that's the hardest part of the business for sure.
Yeah. When you think about, because earlier you talked about if I were 2 million and I wanted to be 10 or 5 million, where do you want to go? Or do you think about it like that? Do you think about, and I'll just share an example. At Jenesis for 28 years, we've grown 10 to 15% a year. Some years, especially if we did an acquisition, it bumped it up. It was a spike, but normally 10 to 15% a year. We've added, on average, we have like 30 team members. We've added about one person a year. Not exactly like that, but sort of kind of. When you think about the future, the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 or 10 years, is that your goal? I mean, is your goal to keep growing? If so, do you think about how much? And do you think about, I want to grow so I can add another team member, that kind of thing?
Sure, absolutely. I think, for me, what would be really wonderful is if I could grow this into something that, as my kids get a little bit older, if there's any interest there, I'm talking some family legacy stuff, that I could include them, that they could get licensed, that, once they're a teen, they can get in here, maybe at that age, maybe not, but, learning how to help with data entry, learning how to follow up, watching me work with customers, see if there's anything in them that lights up inside of them that would say, I think I want to do that. Like, I've seen dad do it. I want to do it too. And so also provide a good living for our family, be able to take care of the people that we're in a relationship with. Church and ministry is a big deal to our family. And so if we can, as we're being blessed, if we can continue that to be a blessing to others. And so that's all kind of on the forefront. I like that 10 to 15% growth. I don't know if I want to have 30 employees, like you do, but I understand we do different things as well. And so, but if we could continue, get a couple more people in, maybe I could eventually work a little bit less. That would be a nice dream. That'd be a nice goal for me to have. But I battle with how much I do like being here. And so what does that look like? And I would like to see, I have some numbers in mind, of like a 10-year plan, a 15-year plan, how big the book would like to be. That would be really great. And so kind of implementing systems and structures and flows right now to get me there, and bring on some more people that would then get us that much closer to that goal would be great.
Yeah, I think, and talking about the earlier book that I wrote, The Perfect Insurance Agency, I think it was chapter 1, I kind of started telling, because, that book is me telling Jenna what I've learned in the business. Jenna's my daughter, for those that don't know. You know that, right? Jenna, that works with Jenesis now, is my daughter.
We've talked before. She's great.
Okay, thank you. And named the company after her, actually. She was 3 at the time, and she's 30-something now. The thing I talk about in that book at the beginning is when I started from zero, and I was writing business, and it might have been like you, like a year, 6 months or a year. I thought, I'm getting pretty busy. I can't do this by myself. I could have, but I didn't want to. And I want to grow. So I hired somebody. And then when I hired them, I had to give them my salary, because I was still small. And
sure.
then I'm starting all over again. So for the next year or two, I'm building back up, me and this person. And then I get to a good place. I'm making money again, but I'm also now the two of us are slammed. So we hire somebody. Well, of course, she's not going to give up her salary.
Right.
So essentially my salary goes to this new person. So I think that's the game you play early on, and the payoff is not until much later. But I would encourage you, one thing I would think, Jacob, hearing you talk about your spiritual values and some other things that you've said so far, and thinking about growing and thinking about freeing up your time, and maybe debate about, I love being here, so I don't necessarily need to want to not be here all the time. I don't think it's a matter of that being the risk, because I think where your value, and I can say this as a 60-year-old guy, that you start coming into this season of life where your value is not so much writing another policy or counseling one more insured that you've done thousands of times so far. Your real value, just like if you're a Christian and your calling is to, and your mandate is to make other disciples, then that could be your mandate here, is you're to coach and build other leaders in your organization. So you bring these people in and you spend more time coaching and mentoring them to do your work. And then I think it can start snowballing.
Absolutely.
And it's not a matter of just trading it off, is my point. It's not like,
Sure.
I don't have anything to do today. Oh, you've got plenty to do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's similar to what you said earlier, or as we were talking about this, and maybe some books and things like that. When you can go from working, what do they say? The catchphrase, working in your business to working on your business.
Yeah,
big
100%.
Difference there, right? All right, I'm working, but there are also other things to work on. And so
yes.
How do you find that balance? And if you don't have enough people to help do the things, you'll never have the opportunity to work on it as well.
Yep, you're right. And I think it's a big deal. But you've got to kind of pull the Band-Aid off in those early days. Like I said, it financially and some other things makes it hard to do. And what's disheartening, and I bet you've already experienced it because you've said you'd normally keep one or two people. So I'm guessing the one person you have there is not the person that started,
Correct.
day one.
Correct.
And that's normal. Anybody watching this is just starting out. It's going to build a team. Building a team does not mean collecting one person at a time. Because I said we've got 30 employees. We've added about one a year. It's not been that simple. We've added two a year, kept one a year kind of thing, because things happen. People leave you. You may have to decide from time to time, this is not a good fit and we need to part ways. So anyway, it's a little messy, but I believe for most of us, if you choose to build a business and not just create a job for yourself, then that's the path you probably should take. And again, going back to your spiritual mindset, I would just encourage you to say that's where you can have the most influence. I think for you to be able to ensure more and more and more people, don't think of it as being greedy. Think of it as being the more people that do business with me, the more chance I have to help, the more chance I have to influence. And I think there's tremendous value there. I'm off track. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was laughing. You talk about staff. The first two people I had them each for a couple of years, and they were great, and both licensed agents, and they both left because they were moving because they got married. And I was like, I should put that in my job advertisement and say, look, if you're looking to get married, come work here. You'll put in 2 years, and then you'll get married and move to another city. And so
that's funny.
Still in great relationship with those folks and keep up with them and miss them tremendously. But it all doesn't work that way. The splits aren't always good and the splits aren't always bad. And so, but I think working through it is always a good thing.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things we've not talked about, and the reason we've not talked about it, it's not the point of this podcast, but I just do want to touch on it before we finish up. You've been a customer of Jenesis for about how long? Since you worked for Matt and then you started the agency, right?
Yeah. So 2013 for us personally as our agency. Yes, sir.
So 13 years.
Yep.
Okay. Anything we can do better? Do I need to get out a long list here?
Oh, no. I think the battle now is being set and stubborn for 16 years in my old ways. When there's a new product available that looks really enticing and appetizing, I'm like, ooh, because we're on Jenesis Classic and I love it. I know it. I could work it with my eyes closed, right?
I get it.
And then I see these Jenesis Now things pop up and I'm like, that looks really good. And so, kind of excited for the future of what that looks like and what Jenesis offers. And I do see a lot of and this makes perfect sense. So it's nothing negative, but all the good, not good things, but the futuristic things or, the modern things come to Jenesis Now, because that's, I would say, not just the future. Jenesis Now is the Jenesis for now. And so totally understand that. And so I think in our future, we'll probably see a jump over to the web-based program with all the offerings that it has. And so, but no, I mean, Jenesis Classic is like, it's like a meme I've seen. My dad's still in the car business. He has been my whole life. And the meme was a picture of a 2004 Toyota Camry. And it says, Toyota recalls 2004 Toyota Camrys. Nothing's wrong with it. That's the problem. And so that same situation of, the Jenesis Classic has just been so good. It's like, all right, just getting to the place to make that move to join to the new programming, I think is going to make a big difference for us for sure.
And we're in no hurry. You do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah,
do you remember Chuck that worked at Jenesis?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Chuck was my first employee.
Wow.
And Chuck was here 17 years, and he passed away January of 2018.
Yep.
Devastating for us because he was so foundational to our organization. He knew stuff that I didn't know,
Sure.
But I remember when we first started building Jenesis Now, we hired a developer who's still with us today in 2013, Tim, and we've added to that Jenesis Now development team over the years, but Tim started it and he's still here. So he started writing the code for Jenesis Now in 2013, I think. Chuck passed in January of 2018. Around a year later, it was good enough to have our first customer. It wasn't, I don't even know if it had downloads yet, or it may not have had Accord forms. I don't know what it didn't have, because Jenesis Classic is a 28-year-old product. And anyway, so it takes a little while to catch up. And I remember a year or two after, like 2014, 2015, Chuck said, we need to go ahead and be planning on our data center, because we had a different data center that you're on. You're in a different data center than Jenesis Now for Jenesis Classic customers. And I remember Chuck saying, we need to be planning because in 24 months, all the Jenesis Classic people will move over to Jenesis Now. He said that in 2015, maybe 2016, 10 or 11 years ago. He said that I'll be moved over in 2 years. Jacob, people are moving so slowly, and we don't care.
Sure.
We really don't.
Right.
And we've got another legacy product, that we acquired, Agency Advantage, a few years ago. And so we've got our oldest customer on Jenesis Classic is still with us today, and they were our first customer in 2018. They have 3 locations. So our very first customer from when we went in business is still with us. That's a blessing. And they're still on Jenesis Classic. They're in the process of moving to Jenesis Now. So we'll see how that goes. Because they're like you, man. They've been there so long.
Sure.
They just, the attraction, the grass is greener thing, sometimes we're just not so sure. And there are some things that's painful about moving. I'll be quick to tell you there's some things that are painful about moving. So, but we're not pushing anybody. And when people are ready, we'll let them go. I don't know what it'll be like one of these days and it'll be years at the pace we're going now. But if you're the only guy left on Jenesis Classic in a few years, we may have to talk and say,
sure.
We can't have you out there. We can't support you. But it looks like that's going to be years off as far as I can tell. Is there anything that we've not talked about that you'd like to talk about?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think one thing that's helped me out the most in my business, if I had any advice, so if anybody's listening that would take advice from a 36-year-old guy trying to figure it out, be who you are. And so I learned that pretty early on when I was trying to sell cars, that I was trying to emulate the different guys on the car lot who were top producers or different. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for when the fact that people will look right through that. They know that they're not getting the real or authentic you. And so that was a big lesson that I had to learn of, hey, if you'd love, if you want to bring in the Christianity portion of it, that, God has made each one of us in the way that he's chosen to make us. And so to be that, and because I would say that's what a lot of people are looking for or even lacking in their life. And so I am not all things to all people, but I try to be who I was raised to be, who I think that I am, to help our customers, to be who I am, to show up, to be here for them. And Matt personally, and so do I. He and I are pretty different. We're very similar, but we're very different. I've been on trips with him, and he's up at 5:00, and he's already been to the gym. He's ready, and I'm like trying to wake up. And I get home from a trip with him, and I need to sleep for 3 days, And so as much as I love and admire him, I'm not him. And so that is, I think if you'll be who you are, because what people are looking for, yes, they're looking for insurance. Yes, they're looking for a good deal. Yes, they're looking for protection. They're looking for authenticity, and people will sniff right through it. And you need to be authentic, and that I think has been very helpful for us in the agency moving forward and from the last 13 years.
I couldn't agree more. And I think have you ever had a marketing person ask you when they're trying to maybe work on your brand or something, they'll say, what makes your agency different from the agency down the street? You've had that question, right?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think it's hard to answer? Because,
it can be.
Yeah, I mean, you could say we're open on Sundays, but you're probably not. So you're probably open about the same hours most everybody else is. And you could say, sure, yeah, we love our customers. We pay special attention. I'm sorry to tell you, but the other agencies love their customers too. And so it's a really hard question to answer. But what you said a minute ago is the answer, is you be you. Yeah. Because no one else can be you like you can be you.
That's right.
And not only that, it's the only thing that's sustainable. How exhausting is it if you're trying to be funny and if you're not funny, or if you're trying to be smart or sophisticated or dress a certain way? Like, look at me, man. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I wear a t-shirt every day. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I can sustain this. I don't want to put on a different shirt because I'm doing a podcast that I'm going to put on the rest of the day. So I think you're dead on. I think it's amazing advice. Be who you are. Don't be afraid to be who you are.
That's right.
Because that's your only way that you're going to be unique. That is your unique you, and nobody else can be that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, absolutely. I think what you said was so good too, because when you are who you are, as you're always maturing and trying to be maybe a better version of yourself. But if you're being yourself, you're not so exhausted. Because life's pretty tough. But when you're trying to do life as someone else, it multiplies that, right? And so, that's what keeps it fun.
Yeah, so you're right about that. So it's sustainable and it keeps it fun because we show up being who we want to be. And I think you'll attract people around you that works for, and the law of natural selection will let the other people go elsewhere. And that's perfect, that you're able to associate with who connects with you. If anyone, Jacob, would want to follow up and ask you anything else, would that be okay if they followed up with you?
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Email address the best way?
Yeah, that'd be great. Shoot me an email. We can exchange information. Yeah, my email address is Jacob, Jacob.Carroll, Carroll @superior.ilm.com. And that is ILM like the airport. So I, India, L, Lima, M, Mike.com. So Jacob.Carroll @superior.ilm.com.
Perfect. Well, I've appreciated you taking the time to do this. This has been fun for me. Hope it's been worth your time.
No, it's been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think the people watching this can get a lot out of some of the things that we talked about.
Hope so.
All right. Take care. We'll do this again sometime. All right. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agencies like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. And if you're ready to simplify and scale, visit JenesisSoftware.com, Genesis with a J, and click on the orange button to request a demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep growing, keep building, and I'll see you next time.